What's up, everyone? I had fun making the last tier list video, so let's do another. For today, I will be ranking another near and dear gaming series, Resident Evil. I really love this series. I mean, it is the most popular survival horror game franchise to date for a reason. For context, my first time playing Resident Evil was experiencing the demo for 1 on the PlayStation in the late 90s, ages ago. Since then, I have played most titles in this series. But for this list, I will be only ranking mainline titles that I myself have beaten. Sorry, Outbreak. And yes, I know Revelations is mainline too, but I haven't beaten either one, so yeah. Let's get this first thing out the way. These are the mainline titles I have not completed and or do not have enough experience to comment on. Admittingly, I feel very little shame about these, but I do welcome a Zero or Code Veronica remake to come one day. Alright, now let's begin my tier list of personal favorite Resident Evil games. In D tier we have, well, nothing. I don't personally feel like any titles I've played belong here, and frankly, I haven't played a Resident Evil game that doesn't deserve praise for at least one major aspect of its being. Okay, so that means we gotta go to C tier. Starting off, we got Resident Evil, the very first. This game oozes novelty, and there was a pioneer for what is now an armada of a gaming genre, but that's about all there is good to say. Unfortunately, it just aged poorly in all aspects to a typical gamer of today.
Stop it! Don't open that door!
But Chris is...
What is it? Maybe it's Chris.
Those who truly love it probably only do because of nostalgia, or just have a deep admiration for super cheesy 90s vibe stuff. And hey, that's cool, don't stop loving. Resident Evil 7, Biohazard. The second most major shift in the series. This was the first title to bring Resident Evil to first-person perspective. It is hailed for saving the series during its lowest point since conception. This game really brought back the horror the series had almost all but forgotten then, and did so very well. It had a claustrophobic and at times even chaotic atmosphere, a callback to the original in many ways. The story was once again coherent and had a really interesting plot element at the end that I would hate to spoil. Unfortunately, that's all I can praise it for. The gameplay itself was mid at best. I was killed by boredom more than I was by the horribly lacking enemy variety. I did not grow fond of a single character in the entire cast, but I'm glad many others could enjoy it. Alright, that's all we got for C tier, so we gotta move up to B. Resident Evil 6. For sure the most controversial game in the series, mainly for just being such a mess. The story was just all over the place, and you can tell it was forced. They wanted to include a star cast, and it came at the cost of a story that made little sense. On top of that, if you really want to have fun, you definitely need a co-op partner. As I mentioned before, this game is very controversial in the series, and that is because of its mechanics. Many hated it for that, but not me. I absolutely love the gameplay of 6. Yes, it turns it completely into action rather than survival, but in my eyes at this point in the series, every playable character is an absolute hardened veteran of bioterrorism. It wouldn't make much sense for the game to be paced as it once was. In retrospect, if the game had at least much better writing, and the general audience accepted it as a one-time instance of the main line where it would go action rather than the daunting idea of the paradigm is forever shifted, I believe the consensus for this game would have been much different. Also, The Mercenaries on 6 was insanely fun. Resident Evil 8 Village. Like we know, I'm not a big fan of 7, so the idea of playing first person as Ethan again did not thrill me. But when I saw the trailer for this game, I was excited. The possibility of the series delving into witchcraft and vampires actually sounded appropriate to me. We did synthetic zombie viruses, we did organic parasite freaks, so then what would be next? Magic. All that's left is to hope that it's well executed. Overall, it was fine. I didn't really dislike anything, but I also didn't fall in love. It brought back the series to where it was when the 4th game released originally, an adventure horror. I can respect what Capcom was trying to do here. Resident Evil 5. The most hype I had for a sequel in this series. Coming after the insanely successful 4th game, everyone had great anticipation. For the most part, not bad at all. It borrowed almost the entirety of its elements from 4, teetering heavily on the action side of survivor horror. But a fun game, especially for the time. If you had a partner, even better. Though now, the puzzles were pretty much gone. If they remake it though, it would need a bit of an overhaul in my opinion. And that's a wrap for B tier. Not so bad so far, right? Alright, so let's go to A tier. Resident Evil Remake. Man, this one right here. I should make it clear, I am not a fan of tank controls. To be honest, I don't believe most are. But that did not stop Resident Evil from being a successful series. Resident Evil Remake takes everything negative I had to say about the original and flushes it down the toilet. This amazing GameCube title turns the borderline goofy original into a certified timeless horror classic. The visuals of this game are just so well done. The atmosphere is nearly unmatched. If I liked tank controls a bit more, this game would be higher up for sure. Resident Evil 3 Remake. I never really played the original Resident Evil 3, so I had the fortunate situation of experiencing the remake as its own game. Nothing to compare it to, except the 2 remake that had just came out before. I loved it. I adored the 2 remake, and the 3 remake felt more or less like an extension of that game. Though I will say it is an absolute shame they did not include the original Mercenaries mode in the remake, or any extra content for that matter. Capcom completely failed its release, trying to justify the $60 price point bundling it with Resistance. The good news is, nowadays you can get 2 and 3 remake bundles for $20 together, which is one of the best deals ever. Budgets aside, if you love survivor horror and games you can go through in one sitting, like me, this is one of the best there is. And that wraps up A tier. So you know what that means. Let's go to S tier. Resident Evil 2 Remake. Like 3, I never played the original 2, but I had great anticipation for this game's release. It abandoned the old school tank controls for the now iconic third-person perspective that was popularized by this series. A chance to experience Raccoon City in RPD like I or anyone else never had before. Of course I was excited. It did not disappoint. This game met great success, and it was well deserved. I was in love with this game and I just wanted more. Another reason why I appreciate the 3 remake as much as I do. These games you gotta play every October.
Resident Evil 4.
Truly the game that made me fall in love with the series, and the survivor horror genre as a whole. And I know I'm not just speaking for myself, times 1,000. A key experience of my childhood. This game alone pioneered an entire subgenre of gaming. Besides the adored gameplay, the story and narrative hold a classic charm to this day. A very cliche action hero save the day type, but hard not to love. OG Leon is a certified boss. And there we have it. Yeah, you know I had to do it. That's right, we got R tier for our very last one. Resident Evil 4 Remake. 18 years since the original dropped. One of the most anticipated releases of my lifetime. And Capcom delivered. I want to say it was a hard choice to put this above OG4, but with Knife Parry, the new Ashley, Merchant, Lewis, and balanced weapons, it kinda isn't hard. RE Engine, bro! This time around, our boy Leon is less of the invincible action hero, but the once vulnerable good boy turned badass, and I love it. If nothing else, it is at least more relatable, more human. Don't get me wrong, this will never make the OG obsolete. In fact, with an entire new cast and a shift in tone, the games feel very independent from each other. That said, as a game, this one offers the most enjoyable experience, in my opinion. This is quite honestly a perfect modern game. Okay, that's it. If you made it all the way here, like the video so I know. Comment below your favorites too. I want to see what you guys think. I will be doing more, so stay tuned by subscribing. Thank you for watching.